So we're busy taking a look at the images on the screen at the moment of the arrivals of some of the dignitaries. Bladen Zamande, of course, there is welcoming there the Prime Minister from the Netherlands who arrived a little bit earlier. They touched down. We've also got on the other side of your screen, that's the Japanese Prime Minister. So we wait for them to come out of the aircraft. But you can see there now, of course, shaking hands, being welcomed to the country is the Prime Minister of the Netherlands.
His Excellency Dick Schoof there. And Sophie Mokoena joins us as well. Sophie, and these are some of the last arrivals this morning. We've had the leaders arriving from 2 days ago, and we are now rounding up that process.
Yes, I think now the real business of the day as it relates to the Leaders Summit will start in a few hours from now. And I think these were the final arrivals of those member states who are attending this G20 summit. We have the member states of the G20. You have also invited guests, particularly leaders from the African continent, the Caribbean. You know that South Africa, after 1994, took a decision to ensure that it does involve Africans in the diaspora. And that's where the Caribbeans are quite important in terms of what Africa is doing. But we also know that the AU also adopted a resolution that they will be the sixth region of the African Union. In other words, you work together, and you'll have other people who will be invited in their different capacities. For example, the AU chair will be here in his capacity as the chair of the AU, because the AU is now a member of the G20. You have the leadership of the European Union. The European Union has been a member of the G20. You will also have strategic partners as it relates to the regional organizations on the continent. Therefore, to ensure that, as President Ramaphosa indicated yesterday, the focus is to push for the South-South cooperation, and then, of course, to make a point that the voice of the African continent is heard. And when you compare what the President said yesterday when he was addressing heads of state and government from Africa, it really, there was synergy in terms of his speech with the UN chief, António Guterres, in terms of what needs to happen, but also putting Africa at the center. When you listen to even the heads of state and government or representatives of countries who are here, member states of G20, they are acknowledging that Africa is the future, and with a population of 1.4 billion, you can't ignore this market. The good thing is that it is a very young population. Therefore, it is indeed a future. You look at countries such as Japan, they are struggling, you know, to keep up with the developments because of challenges of population. And therefore, Africa is indeed the future. But when also turning to other issues such as the rare earth minerals, you have a lot of the rare earth minerals. Now, how do you deal with this? You had a problem during the first industrial revolution where the superpowers, the big countries, the developed countries, and we call them developed nations today, most industrialized countries, particularly within the G7, because they came here, they took our minerals, they left mine dumps, and they didn't focus on beneficiation. And therefore, this time around, with the rare minerals, with the fourth industrial revolution, you must beneficiate. And your lithium, your cobalt, and many other minerals that we have must benefit the African continent. And the SG was very clear that even on transformation of the Security Council, Africa must have a seat, because in 1948, when the UN was formed, the geopolitics were quite different, including the institutional financial architect. It has to change. Your IMF and World Bank must transform. but he gave a clue that that is a very thorny issue, and at this summit we may not get a very strong view in terms of timeframes and push for that, but he indicated that something can still be done to change how IMF and World Bank have been operating in terms of assisting, because they were geared to help the victors, those who won, those who were at the table. And now you have more people, and you have to ensure that you have more countries, and they also get a better deal. Because currently some of them, when they repay the loans, it's equal to their GDPs, and therefore you have to address this.
Right. I'm going to steer just to the visuals that if you've just woken up and tuned in to SABC News, let's speak a little bit to this. Of course, we've got two sets of visuals happening. Let me talk to this one. What you saw previously was the arrival of the Netherlands Prime Minister. Now we're having a look there a little bit more at Japan, because Japan also arrived there. The Prime Minister from Japan touching down, the newly appointed Prime Minister, Sanai Takaichi. She was sworn in October 2025. So Japan, as we've been hearing from Sophie also speaking to, being a major financial powerhouse and trading power. They really, focus in on automotive manufacturing, electronics, robotics, high-tech supply chains, development, finance, global trade, but still an economy that is struggling, and one that I imagine coming into this G20 have got a big agenda in terms of trying to work around a lot when it comes to the global finances and rectifying economies. Before that, just as we saw a bit earlier, was the Netherlands. Now, the Netherlands is an interesting member here, because the Netherlands isn't necessarily a full-time member. They're a permanent invited member of the G20 through the EU. We heard Sophie speaking very much so about the African Union being a member and the EU being a member, and the Netherlands falls under the EU. So that's just to tell you a little bit about that. The delegation from Japan have already disembarked. They have made their way in. So that's really just the plane, and we're showing you that live as we get those visuals. And there again is the Netherlands, and they should be starting that motorcade any moment from now and start heading here to Nasrec, where that Leaders Summit is expected to begin at about 10 o'clock this morning. But remember that in 20 minutes from now, 18 minutes from now, the roads around here, no matter where you're traveling in Johannesburg, if these motorcades, as you're seeing right now, are on that road, they literally shut the roads down, and you won't be able to go anywhere. So take heed of this, and this is the reason why. So we're showing you this as it happens.
And whether it's coming from the Waterkloof Air Force Base or from OR Tambo International, the roads will literally be shut down. And of course, the Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi Sanai, she of course is here on a 4-day visit. So it's going to be interesting to look at some of the bilateral discussions there, Sophie. And also, I see there's a keen interest being shown, and people are watching to see whether she will, of course, have any sort of discussion with the Chinese Premier, who is in attendance because of the speculation of a growing rift between the two nations. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch as well. But of course, we're bringing all of this to you live and direct to keep you abreast of the developments and the build-up to the start of the Leaders Summit at 10 a.m. This morning here at Nasrec. But Sophie, just a quick one to round off this discussion about the African nations on this first G20 Africa Summit. And we see the biggest economies in Africa, because in as much as it's about the biggest developed industrialized economies, it's also about the biggest emerging economies. South Africa, of course, hosting. We've got Egypt represented. We have Nigeria, who are also here. So that in itself also speaks to the importance of this region. You spoke about lithium and cobalt. Here in South Africa, we have the ferrochrome metals, and these are equally important pertaining to the discussion around the rare and critical minerals.
Yes, you are correct. South Africa took a decision that in the same way many meetings were held in the country in different parts of South Africa, so that all regions, the provinces, can have a feel and contribute towards what will be a declaration or a way forward, what needs to happen. South Africa also had outreach programs outside South Africa. One outreach problem was in Egypt, where they focused on agriculture. They went to Nigeria, where they focused on trade and investment. And of course, they then rounded off the outreach program in Ethiopia, the seat of the continental body, the AU. Therefore, I think I always say that South Africa on international stage, it has been very consistent. The issue of involving Caribbean countries, it's not the first time. The diaspora, including other countries, strategic ones with the outreach program, speaks to South Africa always focusing on speaking not only for South Africa but for the continent. And that has been a consistent approach since 1994. Nelson Mandela, Thabo Mbeki, Kgalema Motlanthe, Jacob Zuma, and now President Cyril Ramaphosa continuing. And we have been doing well at global stage. We are respected. We do contribute. You heard what the SG, António Guterres, said. You hear what other leaders are saying. Let's take, for an example, the issue of Ukraine and Russia, which might be a sticking point as it relates to the Declaration on Peace and Security. You have President Zelensky, who has rejected the US peace proposal. With us, it's a question of being able to interact with both Russia and Ukraine. The president is able to speak to these leaders. And it's not the first time. We've done it before when there were challenges in Haiti a long time ago, and incidentally, Mokoena, you know, the commissioner in KZN, he was part of the mission when the then Haiti president was brought to South Africa. The very same Mokoena, the KZN commissioner. I'm trying to show you that South Africa has been an all-rounder, and that is continuing. So I think today we will definitely hear that tone. There has been continuity at international level, and the speech of the president, when he speaks at the international level, everybody, you know, there are sound bites, strong ones on issues. And I think we need to just strengthen home because there are concerns.
All right, so thank you. We're going to be with you for a long time as we keep going. So lots more coming from here where we are stationed in Nasrec. And this is the media center. This is where all of the media are reporting from. There's very, very strict controls happening right now. We know nowhere near where the actual leaders are going to be, but there are cameras stationed all over, and we'll certainly bring all of those visuals to you live when the red carpet ceremonies begin and all of the leaders are walking in, and we'll be able to speak over that. And then there will be press briefings and we'll get updates and everything that happens here. So this really is the nucleus of it all, and it's quite exciting to be here and seeing how things are going to evolve over the next 2 days and bringing you analysis, up-to-date coverage. And this is literally a moving vessel all the time. Every minute there's something new that's coming out of it, and this is it, the heart of the world right now, the Leaders Summit of the G20.
Indeed, and we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, of course, more for you here from the Nerve Center, the heart of it all at the Nasrec precinct.